All right, welcome back, everyone, for a new episode of Hidden Gems. This is the series where I talk about those books that are probably still tucked away and hidden at your LCSs in those back issue bins. These aren't the hot books, the things you're going to see on, any of the hot 10 or top 10 lists. These are going to be kind of forgotten about, undervalued, underappreciated type of books that I think are worth knowing about if you weren't aware of them already. Lately, I've been kind of leaning heavily in on a certain angle on these hidden gems, and I'm going to do it one more time before going back to the hodgepodge randomness that I usually give you. And I'm going to give you another last to know. So this is going to be a series of final issues in runs that do better than you might think. And these are the ones you should look for if you find yourself coming across some of these random series when you're in those back issue bins. Hopefully, you're enjoying this series as well as everything else on the channel. Please let me know what you think in the comments down below. Make suggestions, make comments, share some of your finds, some things that you think we all should be aware of as well. Give me some more ideas of some things you would like for me to discuss, because while I do have a long list of things still yet to do, I am open to talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. So feel free to make your suggestions down below. And make sure while you're down there, you like, you subscribe, you hit that alert button so you don't miss anything, and keep telling your friends so we can keep growing the channel. I know we got a lot of viewers who haven't yet subscribed. I'm telling you, it's worth it. We've got plenty of good content out there for you almost every day. We got live shows 4 times a week. I do recorded stuff a few times every week as well. And pretty much all your pop culture needs are serviced right here on the channel. And with that all said, if you want to see the books I got for you this week, it's not going to be a very long list. This might actually be a pretty quick show for what we usually do. All you got to do is hang out for a few seconds after the intro, and I will be right back. Alrighty then, let's just get right into it and not waste any more time. Yes, this is going to be another last to know. These are those final issues of the run that you should be aware of in case you find yourself hitting a run of comics that you might be unfamiliar with. So you know, where does this series end? Because a lot of times those last issues get a nice little premium over just any run-of-the-mill run filler book that you might be flipping past. So with that said, let's get to our first one, which is an older book. This is the OG Ghost Rider series, the end of Ghost Rider, issue 81. Yes, this one's from the 70s, so this one might be a little tougher to find, but that doesn't mean you won't find it in those back issue bins and might find it for a decent price. You can even see a lot of times you'll see on these issues, they'll make some sort of note, final issue, last issue, blowout event, last whatever. This one, the end of Ghost Rider. It says it right there at the top. You know, this is not the end for Ghost Rider. You know he comes back. We get multiple runs and multiple series over the years, but this is that first run that ended with issue 81. And like I said, I'm not saying you're going to find this at a dollar bin. I'm saying you might find it for cheap in a back issue bin because it's just kind of ignored, forgotten about. So you can see this thing could sell for cheap depending on condition. Best offer on $8.50. But meanwhile, you might find yourself looking at copies that sell for around 30 bucks. Or you might find yourself with some high grades that could go at auction for nearly 100 bucks. Prices will vary depending on condition. And a person grading like at a shop could be much different than, say somebody throwing it up on eBay who doesn't know what they're looking at. It's just, you never know. You never know what the grade could be. So just you use your eyes, use your best judgment, and just buy within your budget. With that said, if you were shopping for one, you can see this one again. Could runs the gamut of prices. You could find what they're grading as a 6.0 for only 15 bucks. It's not terrible. Or it could be 20 bucks. Last issue, another 6.0 fine edition, mid-grade, black cover, gonna be tough to get in high grade, but a higher grade one could run you, once again, close to 100 bucks. So who knows? Maybe you go and find a nice crispy one at some store you've never been to before, and you go, oh, this thing's not bad. And they're only asking 20. Could be worth it if you can get 100 out of it. Just saying, one of those things just to know that 81 is the end of the Ghost Rider, the final issue of that series. All right, let's pivot around. There's no real theme to this selection of books. These are final issues, so we're going to jump all over the place. I'm going to stick with a lot of Marvel, but not just Marvel. We'll bounce around. But another Marvel book coming up next, and this is that series, you always see these. I always see these, at least. I find these a lot in dollar bins, but nobody is really a huge Marvel fanfare fan. It's just, sadly, it's just not a series that has a big, you know, a big fan base for Marvel fanfare. Yes, a couple issues got hot way back in the day. What are they, like 10 and 11 or 11 and 12? Whatever those Iron Maiden issues that were tied to Black Widow, those issues got hot for a bit. There's a cover or two in this run that might get you a couple extra bucks. Like there's a Moon Knight one, I think, somewhere in like the 25 or 30 range. Things like that. Other than that, last issue. The final issue of Marvel Fanfare is issue 60. It's a Dennis Cohen cover, Black Panther. Pretty awesome in and of itself. This is just a cool issue to just have. So, with that, final issue, issue 60, it's not going to make you rich, but you can see it could go as cheap as $5 for a near mint at auction with 2 bids because nobody really knows. Nobody really pays a lot of attention. But meanwhile, a very fine one also sold for $20. So a nicer copy sold for much, much less at auction because I don't know how many times to tell you, don't auction books like this. You only want to basically auction a hot book that people are looking at right now. New books, hot books, you want to set the market. Do not randomly throw up. Just put a buy it now price on it and just take offers because you're not going to get much because how many people are searching for Marvel Fanfare 60? And then another one, look, $10 for a very fine plus. Prices, grades, different ranges could be spread all out. Asking prices kind of in that same range. Look, $10 and then a lot of copies, $25 for those nicer ones. So if you find yourself a nicer one, you're looking at $20 to $25. Find yourself more of a mid-grade, you could be looking at only like 5 to 10. But it's good information to have. It's good information to know. Who knows what you're going to find? Because again, this is one you might find in a dollar bin. This doesn't have to be in a price back issue bin. This could be in a dollar bin. Who knows? You might get lucky. All right. Our next one is just kind of fun because I know we're getting season 2 coming very, very soon. So Invincible. Yes, Invincible did end, and it ended a while ago. I basically didn't get all the floppies because I was not reading it when it was coming out. It just wasn't something that I was getting at that time. I didn't get Walking Dead either. Walking Dead, I bought in trade paperback form and read them in chunks after the fact, after it already started. Invincible, I did a similar thing in that I got the hardcover Ultimate editions. So I got all the hardcovers, like to read those. Still haven't read through the entire run. I haven't read it all. I kind of have a vague idea where the story's going, but I'm enjoying the animated series. That said, this is the final issue, the end of all things, the last issue, the best double-sized final issue of all time, issue 144 of Invincible. This has 2 covers, so you might get this cover, or you might get this one, which is a callback to the very first issue of Invincible. With that said, either of these, if you could find them, will do all right. Where you're basically looking at $45 to $55. Those are copies sold. Those were all sold recently, just within the last few days, within the last week. Asking prices in that same kind of range. Look, $55, $56. This is like a $50 book, as you can see. So maybe you get lucky and you find it out there somewhere for a little bit cheaper. Maybe it's $20. Who knows? That's why I'm pointing it out. I don't know how these things are going to be priced when you go out digging where you're digging. Places and prices are going to be different all across this country of ours. In other countries even. I know we got people watching this overseas, in Australia, over in the UK. I don't know how your shop's priced either. So I'm just trying to give you some ballpark ideas of some things that people might not be thinking about that maybe you can go and scoop up for a cheaper price and still make yourself a couple of bucks because they still are sought after, even if they're not on the tops of everybody's brain right now. So this is just useful information knowing those last issues. Here's the one that you're going to be able to find for cheaper. And this is something you probably should. This is another series I wanted to read all the way through, and I just haven't had the time. Robinson's Starman. Issue 80 is the final issue of Starman. So you can usually find these, again, probably for really cheap. This one's not going to make you a ton either. This one's on the relatively cheaper side. But in case you were curious of how long the run of Starman went, it went all the way through issue 80. Copies have sold recently on this one for, only like $10. So again, it's not a ton of money. But if you can find it in a dollar bin, $10 ain't bad. And that's also, that copies are looking at like mid-grade fines. These aren't going to be the really nice near mints because those might get you a couple dollars more. As you can see, some of the asks could be as cheap as, $6, $10, $15. $15 again is on the near mint. So if you get a nicer one, maybe you get 15. 10 to 15 bucks still ain't that bad if you can find this cheap enough. And Starman, once again, is, from what I'm told, a really good read. It's one of those things on my to-do list to go back and read those, but haven't gotten to it yet. But it's a series. You can go find that last issue probably still for pretty cheap. While you're digging through DC stuff, another off-brand title of a sort. I'm a big fan of Tim Drake. I always liked Tim Drake. I thought he got the shaft when he lost out on being Robin because, Damian showed up and all that stuff. And then all of a sudden, we don't know what to call him. Well, let's call him Red Robin. I didn't like him being named after a burger joint. It just wasn't for me, but I always did like the character of Tim Drake. But Red Robin, as it were, lasted all of 26 issues over at DC. This is in that new 52 time. Not too bad if you could find one for cheap. This is, again, not something that people pay much attention to these days. It's still about a $10 book. Again, you're not going to get rich, but it's a fun little thing that you might be able to go and dig out. Again, you find it for $1, you can get 10. There's worse things in the world. Asking prices could be a little bit more. We're seeing $11, $13. And look, there's the final issue, hard to find, rare, $21 ask. Maybe they get it, maybe they don't. I don't know. But Red Robin, yeah, terrible name. Poor Tim Drake. The costume wasn't bad. They gave him that, the Kingdom Come look. That wasn't bad. It's just the name. It's, again, you named after a burger joint. Ugh. Anyway, moving on. News that we are getting a crossover of Disney and Marvel, like, officially. Like, it's not just we're going to throw Mickey on some Spider-Man covers. We're actually getting a Disney crossover with Marvel of a sort, and that Marvel is going to be producing a new Uncle Scrooge book with the Infinity Dime. I'm looking forward to this. I think it's going to be fun. I'm into it. With that said, don't forget, you can go and dig those old Uncle Scrooge comics out from way back. This is the final issue from, I think it was Gladstone, issue 318. Issue 318 was the last issue of this series, and if you can find it, it does okay. This is like $26, $27. Yeah, look at that. Issue 318. This ran all the way through to 1999, apparently. So it's not like it's old. This is not a book from like the 50s. This is something you might find in those back issue bins that you might be digging in. You're like, oh, all these Scrooge Duck books and this weird Disney stuff. Some of it, as you know, I know there was some of those characters that got pulled and they were not being reprinted anymore, and those issues got hot. Those older Donald Duck and Scrooge books. So yeah, those are still ones you can also look for. There are some fun little homage covers that were in some of the runs that do command a couple of extra dollars too. But here you go, final issue of Walt Disney's Uncle Scrooge of that run, because they did pick it up soon after with a 319. Well, not soon after. I think it was a few years later. Another publisher, I think, grabbed it up. But this was the last Gladstone one. And with that, asking prices for this book, $33, $40, $120. They're calling that one a 9.8. So I guess you got to hold them to it if you go and send that one in. But point being, even at 30 to 40 bucks, that's not bad for an Uncle Scrooge book. And then a potential somebody asking 120 bucks. Don't know if they're going to get it, but it is interesting to see that's what the market is looking for this book. So if you find one, maybe you get lucky. Now, let's shift back to Marvel proper after mentioning that little crossover we're getting soon with Uncle Scrooge and Marvel, and look at the last issue of Monsters Unleashed. Yeah, this is after that series was with Monsters Unleashed. You had Kid Kaiju, and you had all the huge monsters and all the kaiju, etc. So here we have a cover that has Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur and a couple kaiju in there. But this is the final issue of that Marvel Monsters Unleashed title. I mean, kaijus are getting kind of big once again with Godzilla Kong. Justice League series has been good. There's a new Godzilla Kong movie coming out soon. People are liking kaiju again. Godzilla -1 was doing really well on the box office. Does that mean we'll get a resurgence? I don't know. But regardless of whether we get a resurgence or not, this last issue of Monsters Unleashed, again, could do all right. Issue sold recently? Yeah, only for 14 bucks. That doesn't seem like all that much, but this is the only sale I could find in the last 3 months. But the typical ask on this book is anywhere in that $13 to $30 kind of range. So again, this is like an off-brand title that's not a huge, wasn't a huge seller for Marvel. Like you're not looking at a ton of keys in the Monsters Unleashed series. So apart from a couple of the variants that people search for, the regular issues are generally packed in dollar bins. So if you can find a number 12 in a dollar bin and it's in good shape, you might have found yourself a $20 to $30 book. That's all I'm saying. That's why I'm telling you. You never know what you might find. So Monsters Unleashed 12 is that last issue of that series. Speaking of issue 12s, this character's kind of gotten forgotten about lately. America Chavez, her solo series also ended with issue 12. She got a lot of run going up to that Doctor Strange 2, because we knew her character was showing up. I think she did well in the movie. I would enjoy seeing her in the MCU again if we got something more. I know Marco has talked up about seeing this crazy story that we saw play out in this series with the wrestling grandma and all that stuff. That would be kind of fun. I'm not gonna lie. Will we get it? Probably not. Point being, now that the heat has died off, people have forgotten a little bit about America Chavez. You might find some of her regular run issues just thrown in those back issue bins for cover price, maybe even less. That's all I'm talking about, because the heat's not there anymore. But some people still haven't forgotten. So issue 12 is the final issue, and one of those ones that still commands a little premium. Yes, at auction, as I told you, don't auction them. You might only get like $5 because you only got 2 bids because nobody's looking for this right now. But if you listed one for buy it now with for about $16 with $20 shipping out of the UK, you did all right because you were more patient. Now, asking wise, these folks are looking for as little as $25, mostly around 50, and as much as $100 for this final issue of America Chavez. Now, $100, even $50. I think a lot of those are old listings that have really lingered for probably years. They're just sitting there out on the market forever, still hoping to get those highs that the market once yielded. But those days might have passed for this character, so you might more expect in that $25 to $30 range, in my opinion. But be that as it may, if you can dig it out for cheap, just know there is potential to make money on a book like this. That's all I'm telling you. Not saying you're going to, but there's room. Just know your margins, know what you're going to spend. I'm not telling you to go out and spend $50 for this book. I would never tell you to do that. I'm just telling you, if you could find it for a decent price, I don't know, $5 to $10, maybe you take a shot, because maybe you can double up. Maybe you can get close to that 50. I don't know. Maybe you get lucky. Maybe we get an announcement of America Chavez doing something soon if you're patient. Who knows? I'm just telling you, this is a book most people have ignored, forgotten about. So maybe you can go and scoop one up for, again, decent price. All right, we're almost at the end of this, but not quite there yet. Another character that's kind of gotten put in the closet, just forgotten about, just got filed away. Maybe we get her later. That's Gwenpool. Yeah, no current storylines or series featuring her or anything like that. But originally, the unbelievable Gwenpool had a series of her own. I know everybody thought she was just a Deadpool knockoff, but that's not exactly what the character ended up being. The character ended up being her own thing. She's not just Gwen Stacy dressing up as Deadpool. But issue 25 is still the final issue of her run, and there are multiple covers on this one. Just 3, and they're not incentives. They're just 3 that were basically open order, depending on how your shop ordered. So I'm going to show you all 3 because they all do pretty well, and one might do better than the others. So just so you have an idea, all of them are issue 25. Here is the cover A, the one you'll probably find most easily, I guess. Copies of this sold. Best offer on 35 was the cheapest, but otherwise 45 to $50 are the more recent sales. Again, and just this month, so in the last few weeks, 45 to $50 still on this issue 25 of the unbelievable Gwenpool. Asking prices, well, you can find raw copies listed for $30 or make an offer, maybe get it cheaper. And a 9.8 is listed for $1.75. So $175 for a 9.8 seems to be what people are looking for right now for this book. This is the cover A. There is also a cover. I don't know if this one's the cover B or what. Does this have the 2? Well, this actually has the 4 after it. This is the can't remember the artist's name. It's like Shirahama or something. I don't know. It's close. Point point is, this is another variant cover. It's not an incentive. You could find it. It might be just in those bins, might be in those back issues. It's not as familiar, maybe, as the cover A. That's probably the first thing you see if you were to look this up on an app or a list somewhere. So sometimes these variants could get forgotten about because they're not the image that people immediately associate with the book. That said, it still will do well if you do want to buy one on the market or sell one on the market, because again, this one sold for 30 bucks. Oh yeah, Shirahama. There, I should have waited to try to pronounce it and just looked at my looked at the deck here because it does have information in it that I could use. So 30 bucks. Wait, granted, that was way back in December, but that's the only one I could find selling. Available copies. Well, found copies 25, 33, up to $69 for this particular variant. Ain't bad as far as asking prices go. It's again, not telling you to pay any of these prices. I'm just giving you these prices so you can make a determination on your own if you find this in a store near you. That's why I give you the numbers. You make the call yourself, what you want to do with this. What I might do might be different than what you might do. Me, if I found this in a shop, I kind of like this cover. I still probably would only top out at maybe 10, 15 bucks. And even then, I probably have it all 10 bucks maybe. But that's just me because I like things cheap. And if I'm going to pay a premium for a book, it's going to be something I really want. This isn't something that's on my want list. I got a plenty of books I already have on my want list. This isn't one of them. This would be a happy accident find. So that's why I wouldn't pay all that much personally. But you might like it better than I do. You might like this character more than I do. So you might spend differently. That all said, we still have another cover. And this cover I think does the best out of the bunch. And that is this one. I think this is the Jen Bartel. So we also have a variant here. This, I guess, is technically the B cover. And you got, once again, Gwenpool. Copy sold. They do all right. Best offer on 35 bucks. And then a couple of graded 9.8s. One sold for 100 bucks and 105 bucks. All right, so maybe this doesn't sell for the most. 100 bucks for a 9.8 seems cheaper when the other one was looking for 175. But granted, they didn't get 175. That's all they were asking for. Well, let's see what the asking prices are here. Again, I'm doing this off of memory. I made this deck like a day or two ago, and now I'm going to run through it and see that, yeah, 27, 27, 60 bucks. All right, still in the same ballpark. We're still looking at 30 to 50, $60 plus for any of these 25s of this Gwenpool book. I think I like this cover the best out of the group because I like Jen Bartel, and I like her style, and I kind of like this, the layout of this with the three of them. But you decide. You decide if you can find this one near you, if you want to pick it up or not. With that said, I got one more book for you. And this is an oddball one. I know. It's one you might have forgotten about. Kid and Play. Yes, Kid and Play not only had a comic, but it ran 9 issues. And they crossed over with the Marvel Universe. The other issues are basically just, Kid and Play doing Kid and Play things. You find your issue ones, people like that, newsstands, etc. Issue 9, however, is a toughie because it's at the end. It's at the end. This didn't last very long. There weren't that many Kid and Play fans. I mean, I love House Party. I'm sure plenty of you do. But Kid and Play, as far as a comic goes, was not something people were clamoring for. That said, these days, the story might be a little different because you got nostalgia mixed with rarity, because it isn't the easiest thing to find. It is, what, 25 years old, I guess, thereabouts now. I don't remember what year this came out, but let's look at what some recent sale prices are. Maybe we got a date mixed in here. 92. Oh, geez. So 30 years plus. 35 bucks at auction. $24 at auction. Buy it now for 30 bucks. Okay. That's actually cheap. That's cheap for this one because of where this one has been. And again, auctions, still not the smartest thing to do, even on a book that has a little bit of interest like this one. It's just not there. I mean, unless you want to take having Kid and Play in the recent Super Bowl commercials, doing their dance, that's fine. But I don't think that's enough of a heat driver to bring this one back to the forefront of people's minds. That said, look at some of the asking prices: $100, $85, $150. That's kind of where I remember the prices being on this one for a while. Looks like people are still seeking that, but the ones that are actually moving are much cheaper. So you got to find your happy medium if you can find this book out there for a decent price. I'm not saying you're going to. Like I said, it's a tough one to find, but you never know what you might find out of not only a dollar bin, but a back issue bin, an unsorted bin, just dealer overstock, wherever you might be digging for your comics too. Half price books. This is the kind of thing I think I'd see people on Instagram saying, "Oh, look what I found for like $1," because half price books, the people working there aren't comic experts and aren't not the tip top comic experts. They're not going to know what the hell this is, and they're just going to mark this as some goofy kid and play book from the '90s and probably mark it at $1. So with that said, good luck. Happy hunting. Let me know if you find any of these books. Let me know what you think of this list. That is just the short list for this week. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Hopefully you find this helpful. Next week I'll be going back to Chasing Ghosts again. Tuesday nights are kind of my catch-all night where I'm doing these recorded series for either hidden gems, bargain hunters, toy videos that I still want to do. I got to go back and still got another toy video to do, and etc. So this seems to be the night for I'm going to throw one of these things out at you. If I can catch up soon, I'll try to bring something back on Thursdays as well. I know I haven't done dollar bin digging in a while, but that's mostly because I haven't been writing dollar bin digging for a while because I just kind of lost steam. It's not the easiest thing to do. After almost 300 articles and videos, there's only so many books I can tell you about that you might find in the cheap boxes because sometimes books don't cost $1 anymore. Dollar bins are getting tougher and tougher to find. They're now more $2 bins and $5 boxes because, well, that's where the market and that's what inflation has done to our comic industry. With that all said, we'll see. Still got plenty more content coming your way. Make sure you come back for our live shows. We have a special guest stopping by TAC tomorrow on Wednesday. So make sure you come by and check us out tomorrow night. And apart from that, Hot 10 will be coming on Friday. You can stick around afterwards for the qualified. The boys will go live as soon as the Hot 10 list is done. SNS on Saturday for your Saturday night special. And then Tales from the Dark Side every Sunday, the best Star Wars show on YouTube. And with that all said, I'll see you all later with some more content. All right. Later.